Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review we are looking at my newest custom, which is, if you can't tell right off the bat, it's Spawn, which you would actually already have known based on the title, so that was kind of a weird intro. But we're going to leave it in because professionalism. So this is my newest Spawn figure. It's my first Spawn figure, and I was very excited to make it because I've never made a Spawn figure before, and I've always kind of liked the Spawn design despite some of the less than realistic design features like that stupid big boot. He's still a really cool looking character and kind of a fun one, so I've always wanted to make one, and here it is. So let's go ahead and get him off the stand and we can take a closer look. Alright, so this guy is really just a Marvel Legends version of Spawn, my iteration of that. But the interesting thing on this guy is I did a lot of work on this guy, which may not be readily apparent. I'm going to talk about it briefly for this video, otherwise it would be extremely long. If you do want more information, this isn't just a shameless plug. If you want to know how I came about making this guy, you can check out my Patreon page, and I have a lot of behind-the-scenes work on this guy on there. But we are going to go over it here. So, first thing first, Spawn, one of his biggest problems in terms of making a figure that's a custom figure is the cape. There aren't even many figures of him that actually have good capes that come from McFarlane himself, so it's always been one of those reasons why I never got around to making a Spawn figure. And I did run into that for this guy also. And so what I ended up doing, because I had some plans in mind to use various other capes that already existed, none of them looked good. None of them fit what I wanted to do. None of them fit the figure properly, so I said, screw it. I'm going to go against my personal judgment in that I don't normally like to make capes out of cloth because it's a ton of work and it's a pain in the butt. But I went ahead and did it for this guy anyway, and I'm super happy I did, to be completely honest. I'm very, very pleased with how the cape turned out. I don't mind saying that. I know some people are going to be like, oh, of course you like it, it's your figure. Well, that's why I make them the way I make them, because that's how I like it. Anyway, it's a spandex cape, and you're probably wondering, why spandex? The reason for spandex is it doesn't really fray at all. It's a very thin material, and it hangs nicely, but also because it doesn't fray. That's really the big thing. So I can cut it and stitch it however I want to, and it's only going to maybe get like a rough edge, kind of. So I went with that. Plus, it holds airbrush paint really well. So I got it for that. And what I did was made the cape as one piece, made the collar as a separate piece, and they're both wired. So there's a wire for the main cape that comes all the way around and pegs into the chest, so it's going to hold it in place, and you can shape it very nicely. And it's wired this way on both of the upright seams, and then also across the bottom. So if you want to bend it around that way, you can. Right now it's just kind of a half circle because that's how I had it while I was working on it, finishing it up, and it just stayed that way for now. So the cape is fully wired, it's totally posable, and like I said, it's actually connected to the body. It's not just hanging up there like some companies do. I don't know why they do that. So if he wanted to, he could stick the cape straight out off the back if he wanted to. I wouldn't recommend it, but you could. And then for the collar, it's the same thing. Even though it's technically supposed to be the same piece as the cape, I had to make it into two pieces to do what I wanted. The part of the collar that goes around the neck is also wired, and then each of these uprights is wired. I didn't put a wire around the top because, as you can see, it would have ended up being a problem the way it has to kind of fold around and go down behind the head. If I had a wire up there, it would have been drawn taut, and I didn't want it that way. I wanted these pieces to stick up, and so that's why I did that. But these are both fully bendable, so he can have them blowing in the wind if he wants to, or whatever he wants to do, he can do that. And since I was going to do that, actually the process is reversed. Since I did what I was going to do here, I did that for the cape also, but I also made the chains that hang from his belt wired. So even though they are connected in the back, because some of the Spawn drawings have it that way, I wanted to put a wire in the chain so that he could make it in a particular pose if he wanted to do like a jumping pose, or I don't know, whatever he wants to do, he can. The wires are actually connected in behind the belt, so he can move them, and then he can do whatever he wants with that. So I thought that would be a nice touch. As far as the figure itself goes, everything you see on it is sculpted other than the core anatomy, except for some of it even. This is actually the Marvel Legends Venom. And we used that because we wanted the bigger body, but you know that Hyperion/Venom mold has that really weird design for the chest and neck and everything. So the pecs, the neck, and the traps are all resculpted. Most of that's under the cape. You can't see it, but it still needed to happen in order for me to make it the way I wanted to. So that is all resculpted completely. And then the pecs, of course, I did want to resculpt so that you could have a nice looking chest on this guy rather than having that weird design that Hyperion had. And in addition to that, I also changed out the neck articulation just because the Venom articulation doesn't work, and I had to reshape the neck anyway. So he's actually got a Revoltech joint in there for his neck, and so the head can move around very nicely. Arm articulation is all the same. I had to sculpt the bands on his biceps, and this band here, and this whole gauntlet is actually removable, and that is so that, here, I'll go through it real quick. I guess that's what we're here for anyway. This piece is connected with a magnet, and that comes off so that, yeah, I know the magnet gets ugly, but that doesn't matter. You can't see it. That comes off so that you can swap out the hands, because he does have a bunch of interchangeable hands. I'll show you those in a minute. But this is also a loose piece so that it can rotate with the hand for whatever pose he wants. And actually, once I got finished, I never pegged the hand in all the way, so the hand might fall off. Don't worry, it's not like that for the final thing. It's just I didn't peg it in yet. It might be pegged in, I don't know. So he does have, I'll go through that real quick right now. He has a fist hand for either side, so standard fist hand. And of course, I just sculpt all of these guys too and put the spikes in there. Let me tell you, if you're thinking about making a Spawn figure, you don't want to. Putting all of these spikes in this figure, such a pain in the butt. I also gave him, this is a bonus accessory. He wasn't expecting this, he doesn't know about this, but I thought it would be cool to give him a green glowing hand because Spawn has that green power that you can see in his eyes, and thought it would be kind of a nice touch. I don't know if that ever happens in the comics, but if it doesn't, it should. Now he's got a green glowing hand. And then he does also have gun hands for either side, even though this side probably won't be able to hold it very well. He might be able to figure something out with that gauntlet. I don't know. But these are hands from Nuke. I separated the finger and resculpted it a little bit. I don't know if you can see that. The finger is no longer connected, so he's got a trigger finger. You have to pull it out because it's not shaped to hold a trigger. But that way you can actually get the gun in there and it won't scratch anything up too bad, and it'll hold the guns. And so he does have some guns. I did take this gun from the Spawn figure where I took the head from, which is like, it's some Toys R Us Spawn figure that's available right now. But this one fits, so I figured why not, he can have that. But I did also give him a small submachine gun and a couple of high-tech futuristic, I mean, these are actually realistic guns, but they also look futuristic, so I painted those up, and he got a couple of those. So he's got that. And then as far as the rest of the stuff goes, I took the little buckles that go up here, these clasps. These are also from this figure, and I resculpted the little skulls. I put a peg on them, so those peg into the chest, so this chain is actually a real chain that's hanging. Oh, this collar piece also pegs into the chest. All three things do, so this is fully posable, not floating in any way, so that's that. So yeah, I put all the spikes in, sculpted. Oh, that's right. I forgot I did all this stuff. I've been working on this guy for a while. I resculpted the quads. So all of the big muscle groups on the quads were really bulbous looking on the original figure. So I took those down and made them look a little bit more natural. Resculpted the hips a little bit. I put a peg in through where his butt would be, or his butt crack is. And so that stabilized the legs a little bit. You guys know some of these figures wiggle around too much. So I put a peg in there and fixed that. I don't know. Like I said, if you want to get the details, go to Patreon. I don't need to go through everything here. Then I sculpted this, and sculpted this. The only articulation we lost was down here. We don't have the boot swivel anymore, or the ankle articulation, just because of the nature of the boot. And there was an option. I gave him the option to put articulation in there and to separate the boot at this seam right here, but it was going to cost too much, and he said it wasn't necessary, so we didn't do it. But I did leave this articulation, the thigh swivels in there. Everything's still in there, so he's fully posable. That way the cape can be posed, and I don't know. There you go. I guess. Oh, this is also from the Spawn figure the head's from, but I put a peg on there, much like I did for my Magneto, to peg that in, and then there's some sculpt behind there to hold everything in place. So that's it, yeah. Oh yeah, his logo does go all the way around to his back. It's all fully finished, so if he does want to make the cape windswept, he can do that. And then I painted the face, obviously. I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's it. So if you need any more information than that, which I ended up going over quite a bit, but if you need it, it's on Patreon. If you don't need it, then you don't need to go to Patreon. But it would be cool if you did, because that helps. Anyway, there it is, guys. There's my Spawn figure. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. I have new videos up every single day. We talk about action figures, movies, TV shows, video games, all kinds of fun stuff. So make sure you come back for that. Turn on notifications so you don't miss anything. And in the meantime, keep collecting.